Okay. That book. So I'm going to start this way. This is the book that I've been using for a lot of my hockey stats and numbers and um, trophies. And they gave me the wrong answer today. And I shot this video once, and then I went, that's the wrong answer. And I went back and I checked, and yeah, it's the wrong answer. So I've made a note on the board because, yeah, they gave me the wrong team for somebody. And that's just not. Yeah, I'm glad that I'm done with that, and then I can just get into using hockey annuals. And it's a fact that it's all listed as like just a couple of tables, and it's a little easier to gather all the information. So for 0203, this is the last time I'm using that for information, and going forward, um, yeah, it's going to be old annuals and stuff like that, and just cobbling together as much as I can using web links and whatnot. And thanks records and .nhl.com. You guys are just on board just in time. The Central Division's won this year by the Detroit Red Wings at 48-20, 10-4. St. Louis is second at 41-24, 11-6. They are the only two teams in the Central that are in the playoffs. The Chicago Blackhawks are below the line at 30-33, 13-6. That's a lot of threes. The Nashville Predators 27-35, 13-7. Followed by the Columbus Blue Jackets at 29-42, 8-3. The Pacific, the Dallas Stars 46-17, 15-4. The Anaheim Ducks 40-27, 9-6. Below the playoff line, the LA Kings 33-37, 6-6. Phoenix Coyotes 31-35, 11-5. And the San Jose Sharks, last place in the division, 28-37, 9-8. The Northwest is won by Colorado 42-19, 13-8. And don't think I wasn't mad about it. The Canucks 45-23, 13-1. I was a little nervous about the seeding that the Canucks would get if they didn't catch Colorado, and they didn't catch Colorado. So there you go. Minnesota 45-29, 10-1, followed by the Edmonton Oilers at 36-26, 11-9. And then the playoff line beneath that is Calgary Flames at 29-36, 13-4. Still dark times for Calgary, but again, the boys are going to get it together for tomorrow's video. The East, well, Ottawa wins that at 52-21, 8-1. The second in the Northeast is Toronto at 44-28, 7-3. Third is Boston, 36-31, 11-4. Playoff line. Beneath that is Montreal, 30-35, 8-9. Buffalo, 27-37, 10-8. The Atlantic is won by New Jersey, 46-20, 10-6. And it's a good story with New Jersey that year because Pat Burns, after a year out of the game, has been brought in to coach the New Jersey Devils. Philly, 45-20, 13-4. The New York Islanders in the playoffs at 35-34, 11-2. The Rangers missed the playoffs. They can't buy their way back in. 32-36, 10-4. Pittsburgh, 27-44, 6-5. The Southeast Division is won by the quickly rising Tampa Bay Lightning at 36-25, 16-5. The Washington Capitals, 39-29, 8-6. The Atlanta Thrashers, with that superstar Danny Heatley and various other players, 31-39, 7-5. The Florida Panthers, 24-36, 13-9. Carolina, 22-43, 11-6. It's a miserable year for California after such a good year the year before, too. The Hart Trophy goes to Peter Forsberg. He also wins the Art Ross. The Richard Trophy, the Rocket Richard Trophy, goes to Milan Hajduk, who was a pretty darn good goal scorer in his time. The Norris Trophy goes to Nick Lidstrom. The Calder goes to Barrett Jackman. And whenever you talk about best and worst of any award winners, for the Calder, Barrett Jackman often gets referred to as one of the worst Calder winners. I would answer that and say that he wasn't a superstar, but he did play quite a few games in the NHL, and he did, in that first year, look like he was going to be a horse on the blue line for a long time. But the game will change and evolve away from that type of player. The Selke winners, Jiri Lehtinen again. The Vezina is Marty Brodeur. The Jennings is a tie. So this happens every now and then. Not as much now with overtime and with goals against being spread out a little bit there. Brodeur with New Jersey, Chechmanek and Esch with Philly, because New Jersey and Philly tied for the goals against average lead in the NHL. The Adams Trophy goes to Jacques Lemaire of the Minnesota Wild. Book I was reading said New Jersey, and I get to the end of this, I'm like, this is the coach of New Jersey, and turn it off. So Lemaire in Minnesota, bringing his brand of trapping hockey to mini, and at the time there were some Minnesota reporters that weren't happy. That felt that they were a fast skating, talented team, and he was taking the fun out of the game for players and fans alike. Fans seemed to be happy, well, because they were winning. So as long as you're winning with that system, I don't think people are going to say anything. Anyways, your Lady Byng winner is Alex McGillney. The Masterton goes to Stevie Y. The Pearson goes to Marcus Naslund of the Canucks. The Conn Smythe goes to Jean-Sebastien Giguere, and we will get to him before the video is over. The Patrick Award for growing the game in the States, Ray Bork. Ron DiGregorio, and Willie O'Ree. And Willie O'Ree, of course, very well-known figure now in the game of hockey. And I'll stop at that. The Clancy for leadership on and off the ice goes to Brendan Shanahan. The number 1 draft pick, Marc-Andre Fleury, currently a member of the Vegas Golden Knights. He has 404 career wins, 229 losses, and 72 ties and overtime losses in his career. He's played almost 800 games, still looks pretty darn good, and Vegas is quite happy to have him. And the question becomes, too, if Vegas doesn't come into the league, does he stay in Pittsburgh forever? I don't think so. I think that based on how his last year in Pittsburgh went, I think Pittsburgh was ready to move him. So even if there hadn't been an expansion, I wouldn't have been surprised to see him get moved. This season, 02-03, there's very few moves made. Your free agents, Adam Oates goes to Anaheim, Eddie Belfour goes to Toronto, Curtis Joseph goes to Detroit, infamously, and Robert Lang goes to St. Louis. In terms of trades, there's very little names going. Sammy Salo to Vancouver stands out because all Ottawa got out of it was Peter Schaefer, and that was a steal for Vancouver, even though Salo will be injured quite a bit. March 5th of 2003, Owen Nolan is traded by San Jose to Toronto for Brad Boyes, Alan McCauley, and a 2003 first-round draft pick. So, Owen Nolan's a Leaf, and the Leafs are, again, they're accumulating veterans. They're picking up as many big-name players as possible, adding guys like Belfour and Nolan with the idea that they're going for a Stanley Cup. Your first-team All-Stars that year, Peter Forsberg in the middle, Bertuzzi and Naslund on the wings, Lidstrom and McInnes on the blue line, Marty Brodeur in net. Second-team All-Stars, Joe Thornton in the middle. He's still playing. Hayduke and Correa on the wings, Gonchar and Darian Hatcher on the blue line. The game will change, so Darian Hatcher is not as effective as he was coming out of the lockout. Marty Turco as a goaltender, fantastic at times, but he gets remembered for playoff failures, which I don't think, and I still don't think was fair to him. As a Dallas fan, I always thought that was overblown. I didn't think it was his fault that Dallas failed in the playoffs. Now, yesterday's video, we had upsets in the East. Today, it's upsets in the West. In the East, it goes according to plan. Number 1 seed Ottawa takes out the New York Islanders in the Alexei Yashin Cup in 5. The New Jersey Devils, they take out Boston in 5. The Tampa Bay Lightning, the number 3 seed, take out number 6 Washington in 6. Philly and Toronto, this is the only dogfight of the bunch. Philly wins that one in 7. So if you're a Maple Leaf fan, again, it's close. It's a good series against a good team, but they just come up short because it's not Ottawa. In the West, Dallas beats Edmonton. That is the only series that really kind of goes the way we had expected. Dallas wins it in 6. Anaheim sweeps Detroit, and Curtis Joseph's chances to be seen as a hero 4 straight, and Curtis Joseph being blamed will be a thing in Dallas or in Detroit before this is over. So Anaheim moves on to round 2. The Minnesota Wild come back from 3-1 down against Colorado, and they win that one in 7. Vancouver comes back from 3-1 down to win their series in 7. So as happy as I was here, I'm going to be really upset later. I was happy with both of these results. Like, yeah, Vancouver plays Minnesota. This is going to be good. Because I didn't want to see a situation where Vancouver played Colorado, and I didn't like how Anaheim had swept Detroit. So I thought, all right, if we get Minnesota, we've got a good chance. Anyways, second round, Ottawa, the number 1 seed, take out number 4 seeded Philadelphia in 6. So again, we're playing according to seedings, and everything goes according to plan. The number 2 seed New Jersey Devils take out the number 3 seed Tampa Bay Lightning in 5. But the Lightning are putting the league on notice that they're up and coming. The number 1 seed Dallas, well, they fall in the second round against Anaheim. And this is part of where the whole Turco can't win in the playoffs thing comes from. And again, I never believed that for a second. The Vancouver Canucks were up 3-1 at home and they lost to Minnesota. And coming out of that game, I was like, Vancouver's probably done. There was a momentum shift in that game, and it was undeniable to me that the Canucks just looked fragile and their goaltending looked fragile. One thing that I felt out of this era, and Canuck fans have said regularly, is if this Canuck team had a Patrick Waugh level goaltender, or even a guy that could play in the playoffs the way Chris Osgood did for Detroit, then Vancouver would have won at least a Stanley Cup, or at least got to the finals with that team. But it just didn't happen. So Vancouver ends up losing that series in 7, and it kind of broke me a little bit. And I kind of really disliked Jacques Lemaire for that. Part of my dislike for Minnesota at the time came from Jacques Lemaire coming in and instituting the trap, and taking the life out of the game. And I know he had some public spats with Marian Gaborik regarding the Minnesota Wild. Now, in the East, Ottawa puts up one heck of a fight against New Jersey, but New Jersey wins it in 7. So a number 2 seed comes through and knocks out the number 1 seed in the East. It doesn't quite go exactly according to the seedings, but it's darn close. Out West, Anaheim makes quick work of Minnesota in the most boring conference finals I've ever watched, where scoring was it was a wasteland. There was just nothing going on out there. Both teams played the trap, and there is nothing worse than a series where both teams are sitting back and waiting for the other side to make a mistake. It was awful. It was really and truly awful. And I felt at the time it was unwatchable. And then, they go through Minnesota, and maybe it helped Anaheim to go through Minnesota with Jacques Lemaire, because now they're going on to the finals with New Jersey, where Pat Burns is the coach. Now, Pat Burns plays a little more up-tempo style, but he knows the bread and butter of the New Jersey Devils is that trap. It is that taking the life out of the game style. In those finals, Anaheim and New Jersey only allows 16 shots in games 1 and 2. So both times it's a 3-0 shutout for Marty Brodeur, and we've seen this script before. But Anaheim's not out yet. At home, they win 3-2 in overtime, and then 1-0 in overtime. And that game was hard to watch. There's some hard to watch hockey at this stage of the game. Really, anytime anybody says, "Oh, the game was so much better before," I think to myself, just watch any hockey between 95 and 2004, and you're going to see a lot of clutching and grabbing, a lot of trapping. There's going to be some pretty bad hockey in there. I'm not saying that today's hockey is the greatest ever, but it's close. It's better than some of the hockey that was going on here. The NHL realized they had a problem. That's part of the reason why clutching and holding and all of the slashing and hooking was cracked down on so much coming out of an entire year off. But anyways, Anaheim goes to New Jersey with a series tie, and New Jersey wins 6-3. So basically, Pat Burns decides to let all the guns go and just go out there and just blast them. Anaheim says, okay, we can do that too, and they win 5-2 in Game 6 at home. So finally some offense, and then Game 7, no. Marty Brodeur gets his 3rd shutout of the Stanley Cup Finals, and what's amazing is he got 3 Stanley Cup Final shutouts in 4 wins, and he doesn't win the MVP because that went to Jean-Sébastien Giguère. That's how well Giguère played. Your playoff leaders for goals, Jamie Langenbrunner with 11 because it was a low-scoring finals, low-scoring playoffs all around. Your assist leaders, Niedermayer with 16. Your points leader, it's the both of them, Langenbrunner and Niedermayer with 18 each. That is so low. Just really, really low. Your wins leader, Brodeur with 16 and Giguère with 15, of course, one behind. So Game 7, you would think it was thrilling. At times it was. I think of the 3 Stanley Cup Finals that New Jersey won, I think this was probably the most exciting. Eventually, it got there. The first 2 games were not, but eventually it got there. And I admit I was cheering for Anaheim in the finals. Just I thought it would have been a great story to see Jean-Sébastien Giguère get the Stanley Cup. He won the Conn Smythe. I guarantee you he would have traded it for the silver chalice you raise over your head. But the New Jersey Devils were your Stanley Cup champions, and it was great because Pat Burns won that Stanley Cup. The next year, New Jersey took a step back. Burns was out of work, and that was the end of his career in the NHL. But this was the one Stanley Cup that he got. And he was a great coach. He never had a long shelf life in any one city. He went through Montreal, Toronto, and Boston, for instance. But, at first when he got there, he could get you that really solid result. He could get your team into the playoffs with a good seeding, guaranteed that first year. And he was a good motivator. And it's a shame that that it took this long and that it had to be New Jersey where he got the Stanley Cup. Would have been nice to see it in Boston personally. But anyways, there you go. Your 2003 Stanley Cup champion is New Jersey, and we are now, yeah, we're 14 Cup champs away. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the 0405, if I'm even going to do a video on that or discuss how that season was lost or that kind of thing, or just if I'll just go on to the 0506 season. So we'll see in a couple of days what I'm going to do with that. But for now, that's the 2002-2003 season. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.